The makeup of God's creation. Elements. Letters of creation. Acey and Pudge were walking past the library when suddenly Pudge remarked, "I know what is in almost every book in the library." "Oh, you could not," said Acey. "No one could possibly know what is in every book in a library full of books." "I do," replied Pudge. "Library books are full of words." Acey laughed and said, "That was a funny joke, Pudge." Pudge's joke illustrates an important principle of God's creation. Although all the books in the library are full of words, the words themselves are made from letters of the alphabet. The 26 letters of the English alphabet are combined in thousands of different ways to form words, and each word is different from all other words. Yet all words are similar in that they are made from the same source, letters of the alphabet. In a similar way, God used the elements He created to make everything in the universe. What is an element? An element is like one of the letters of the alphabet. An element is a pure substance that is not chemically combined with any other elements. An element cannot be divided into other substances or elements. Examples of elements are gold, silver, oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. Elements are like an alphabet for God's creation. Page 7. 4 ancient groups of elements. How did people first learn about elements? Many years ago, people knew little about chemistry. They divided everything into 4 groups, or categories. They named these categories air, earth, water, and fire. These categories seemed correct at that time, but scientists today know there are many more elements. At that time, any gas, such as oxygen, hydrogen, or nitrogen, was called an air. Any solid was called an earth, and any liquid was called a water. Fire, of course, was any sort of fire. These elements were considered to be the only 4 elements in the universe. Below are the Greek symbols that ancient Greek people used to represent these 4 elements. Here is an interesting example of how ancient chemists used the water element category. While trying to make gold, they discovered an acid that would dissolve gold. Ancient chemists did not use the word acid. Instead, they called it royal water, because gold is the king of metals. As years passed, chemists experimented more and more with the elements and found that 4 categories of elements were not enough. Chemists continually changed the list of elements and gave up their old ideas about the elements. By the year AD 1550, chemists had discovered and named 12 elements. Most of these elements were metals, such as gold, which exist in a pure form in nature. Each element was given a name and a symbol to stand for that element. The symbols for some elements are the abbreviations of the Latin or Greek names for those elements. For these abbreviations to make sense, we need to see the Latin or Greek words. Look at the following abbreviations from Latin words. The 2-letter symbols in the examples above are abbreviations of each element's Latin name. The symbols for other elements are the abbreviations of the English names for those elements. Look at the following abbreviations from English words. Some English names for elements come from Latin or Greek words that describe some characteristic of the element. One example of this is the element called oxygen. Oxygen is a word formed from 2 Greek words meaning acid producer. When oxygen was first discovered, people thought it was needed to produce an acid. Elements have also been named after places, planets, colours, and well-known scientists. Discovery of elements. How many elements did God create? Scientists have found 92 different elements in nature. However, the sun and earth and everything on earth are mostly made up of only a few elements. Oxygen, a common element in gas form, makes up about half of Earth's crust. Nitrogen, another element in gas form, makes up about 80% of our atmosphere, the air. That means most of the air we breathe is nitrogen, even though the oxygen in the air is the element our body uses. Scientists have been able to take some of the 92 elements found in nature and change them into new elements. A new element is made up by adding more protons and neutrons to the nucleus in an atom of a natural element. Scientists have been able to produce 26 new elements, but the process requires special equipment and takes a great deal of time. Most of the elements scientists have produced will not hold together for very long because they are not stable. This is why we do not find them in nature. There are a total of 118 elements scientists have either discovered in nature or produced themselves.